The tranquility and serenity of the water as it flows through the Lehigh River, even with the traffic of Interstate 80 above me. This location in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, which is actually a boat launching area in the Whitehaven Nature Park, offers such a beautiful place to relax, take it all in, and just enjoy the flow of the water and being able to breathe. Tragically, on December 20th, 1976, a 14-year-old boy on the opposite side of the river was checking his traps from trap hunting when he came across 3 suitcases. These 3 suitcases had the dismembered parts of a woman's body. A woman full term in pregnancy. Her fetus with her in these 3 suitcases that were thrown from the westbound lanes of I-80. Those are the westbound lanes of I-80. 300 feet up to the surface, to the bridge from the surface of the water. "44 years later, there are absolutely no leads as to who committed this atrocity, and no identity for the woman who was murdered so brutally and dismembered so savagely, and yet with such precision, as the person who did this knew exactly what they were doing, as per state police reports. State police also believe that this case was a personal case and not just a random act. Whoever had done this to this woman knew her personally and perhaps even fathered the child. What's worse is this baby was within days of being born. Now, she lies in a cemetery on Lorryville Road in Weatherly. It's saddening to know a 14-year-old boy was scarred for life, forever traumatized by the nightmare that haunts him to this day. A family who does not know where their daughter is. A killer who may still be out there to this day. And no answers to get any closer to giving this woman an identity and bringing her killer to justice. This is Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, and this is the Lehigh River, right below the I-80 overpasses. From here, I will drive up onto I-80, and I will come over the bridge where it is believed by state police that the suitcases were dropped. Right now we are coming up onto the overpass above where I was at the Lehigh River in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. We're about 3 miles away from it right now. But I wanted to mention the fact that this westward tract on I-80 is the direction in which the killer of Beth Doe was traveling when they decided to dump the bodies over, thinking they would float down the Lehigh River, out of sight, out of mind. No one will know the better of it. However, as previously mentioned, one of the suitcases did land in the woods instead, when the other 2 suitcases were about 20 feet away and close enough to the shoreline where they ended up coming up on the shoreline instead of floating down the Lehigh River. it makes me wonder what is actually worse. The fact that somebody so heartlessly and so disgustingly threw these suitcases off this bridge of this dismembered woman and her unborn child? Or would it be even considered worse about the fact that a 14-year-old boy a day later would in turn find these suitcases and make that horrific discovery that he made? Yes, it's extremely tragic that this woman was brutally murdered, but I would have to give the nod to the 14-year-old boy who found these suitcases, who found the body parts of this woman, because now, 44 years later, that man still has to be suffering nightmares, still has to be haunted by the discovery. And will most likely carry that with him for the rest of his life. I don't need to say that it's understandable that this man could no longer stay in Whitehaven and at his earliest opportunity picked up and moved. One of his best friends who's still in town discussed it with another YouTuber, and it seems to be haunting him as well. I can understand that the boy who found the remains of the woman in the suitcases probably avoids talking about it at all costs. Having to relive that every day in your own mind is bad enough. Having to discuss it on a regular basis would have to be absolutely unbearable. We are now coming up on the bridge, the overpass that the body was thrown over. We'll be coming across that here momentarily. In fact, here we are now. This sign post here that we're passing, that would be a clear indicator of about where the body was thrown, give or take about 10 feet east of where that sign holder is. Now, I'm off of I-80, I'm going on 940, and we're going to head over to Weatherly, and I'm going to take you to see the grave of Beth Doe. I'm in the Lorrytown Road Cemetery, and this is the grave of Beth Doe and her unborn child. She lies here now without an identity, perhaps never having peace. Not knowing what her child could have become in life, how she could have progressed in life, all at the hands of someone who brutally murdered her in what had to be a senseless act of violence. I hope one day they'll be able to find who did this to her, to find her identity. Let the killer be brought to justice, if not already brought to justice on unrelated charges. but hopefully it can be identified as who committed this atrocity. And allow Beth Doe to finally be able to truly rest in peace. And moreover, to give her her identity. Thank you for joining me on this video footage. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time in the next video. Have a great one, everybody.